Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from February 8th? So I entertain a recommendation for approval.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
And a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Moving on to other business, rural long-range transportation plan.
Yeah,
That's
so
Aria.
Aria, do you want to go ahead and start by talking about some of the demographic data that we've seen?
Yeah, so we looked at the basic demographics of the county. So population, age, employment, transportation methods, commutes, all that sort of data, and we compared it to the different census tracts. So we have all that data, and we have made projections for population growth within each tract, and job growth within each tract. So yeah, that's it, I guess. It's the same as last time, if you were here for last time.
Yeah, and then kind of the other piece that we've been running concurrently with that is we've been trying to do a survey to determine some of the goals and objectives, so you know what we want this plan to accomplish. And we have kind of really, unfortunately, gotten a slowdown in the response rate that we've received. At our last quarterly meeting, we were, I believe, around 66 or so responses. And I checked earlier today, and we've gotten up to 71. So only jumped up a few in 3 months. So I think we're probably not going to get too many more, unfortunately. The good news is that one of the questions that we asked with the survey was, whether or not people were in kind of the more rural areas of Carroll County or the more urban areas. And we did get a pretty good split between those two. We got about 56 or so %, I think it was, that were in the urban areas. So that's a pretty good split. So we'll have to kind of look at how that compares to their responses, and if maybe there were any noticeable differences in kind of goals and what people were thinking or more interested in based on whether they were in the rural area or the urban area. So that's kind of where we're at with that. I think, kind of given this slow response rate, there's not much point in leaving it open any longer. I think it's kind of the time when we are ready to shut it down and go ahead and start doing some analysis of the results. And speaking of that, we are going to be wanting to meet about this plan. We've had a couple meetings before with some of the people in this group, as well as some of those at our next committee meeting, the admin committee. So I think we're going to want to reconvene that and kind of get it together so that we can start moving forward on this process. So I'll be in touch regarding that. We are definitely going to want to talk about the results of that survey. That's going to be one thing. We're also going to want to look at some of these projections that Aria talked about earlier. We're going to want to go ahead and review those and see if maybe we need to do some specific tweaks. If there are some areas that we know might be developing in the next 10-15 years, we might bump up some of those growth rates for like our employment numbers or whatever, for example. So we're going to want to have you guys take a look at that so that we can make sure that we have the best local information to kind of beef those up. And then kind of the other thing we're going to want to look at is some specific issues. So one that we know has kind of been going on for a while is the truck traffic in downtown Delphi. So that's one issue that we're going to want to talk about and see if we can kind of get something on paper for that. If it's not necessarily going to solve the problem tomorrow, if we can get something down in this plan of where we would like to be, that really helps with moving us towards that goal eventually, and it kind of gives us a target, and we can point to this and say, hey, this is in a plan. It's been identified by different sectors of the local government as important, and then we can work on trying to figure out how to get the funding and logistics and all that fun stuff together in order to get it going. And then also if there are some other issues that, you guys know of, don't feel that we're limited to those that I mentioned. Those are just some of the ones that I know off the top of my head are going to be important. So that's kind of where we're at with the long-range transportation plan. Any questions? All right.
Do you know about when they'll be trying to reconvene that?
Yeah, it'll be probably a couple months. My guess would be around July. So the state fiscal year ends at the end of June, and that brings a few deadlines for us as the Tippecanoe County MPO. So because of that, it tends to be often the kind of a crunch time around then for us in terms of getting some things in that we have to get done. And there's like always something that comes up at the last minute, and we're like, oh no, we got to take care of this too, kind of thing. So July would be my guess.
Okay. Anything else on the rural long-range plan?
That's all that I had unless there were further questions.
Update us on the traffic counts?
Okay. So, we started the traffic counts here in Carroll County about, I think 4 or 5 weeks ago now.
I've noticed, yeah.
Yeah, so just a quick overview on traffic counts as usual. So we do them on a 3-year cycle. We take kind of the same locations every 3 years, and that way we get a bunch of different counts in the county as well as historical data. Last year we had focused on CAFOs, so we've kind of changed up our count locations to focus on those. This year we're back to the regular rotation, so we'll be getting some more historical data. There were a few requests for specific count locations, particularly around the school on Armory Road, so we did those count locations as well.
Okay.
I think there's 1 or 2 other locations we moved as well, but almost all of them are the same as our usual locations this time. So we have just a couple weeks left, I think, of counts, and then we'll be done with gathering them for the year. Once I have all that data, I'll make a spreadsheet and show you the results. That should be, I think, by the next meeting, we should be ready with that, so. I think that's all there is for traffic counts. Yeah, I think so. Any questions?
I know we had talked about moving the County Road 800 South one.
Yes, I think I moved that one.
Okay, because they are detouring across there. Not officially, but yeah.
Makes sense.
Why they want to travel a gravel road, I have no idea.
Yeah. All right. So that's it.
Okay, so then our next item is the 18-month letting list. Can you go ahead and scroll down to that? So a lot of the projects are still going to be the same into 2023. So NDOT has a tendency to lock down projects around this time of year. We don't typically see many lettings as they're trying to, close out their books around the state and get everything sorted out. So as you can see, our first letting date, or our next letting date, I guess, doesn't even come up until August 10th. And then we have several projects along State Road 25. So that's kind of that first big group there. So they're all under the same contract number. So it's a lot of bridge work, so it's like a bundle of bridge projects along 25. And then we move on, there are some projects also along 75, 18, 218. And then we do have a few changes. We have some lettings that moved back from September of 2022 to 2023, February 2023. This looks like one on 218, one on 421, and one on 29. And then if we go down a little bit more, there's a couple more changes at the bottom of this page. Yeah. So there's another letting that moved back on 421. So that will be moved back to March 15th from December 7th, so 3 months back. And then we have a new letting that's just shown up. So in July of 2023 on 29. And then there's one more on the next page. It's also shown up. Yeah. So we got this August 9th letting another bridge project on State Road 22. So that's that. We do have some bid letting results to share. So we had a couple projects that let in February, a couple NDOT projects that let in February, one on 18 and one on 421. So the project was awardable, it was under the bid, which is good. That's something we haven't always seen around the state, just in talking to other folks. We even had a few problems ourselves with one project that we had to scramble to figure out how to get that let in Tippecanoe County. So fortunately, these two were able to let. And then we also had this next bundle, the State Road 25 bundle, was also awardable. So again, under the engineer's estimate. So looks like all these bridge thin deck overlays will also be going, and so that was good news. So we had some good news for Carroll County in terms of lettings. So those are, like I said, the last ones that we're going to see in fiscal year 22. The rest of them don't go then until August. So for the time being, we're good to go, and hopefully that continues, and hopefully some of these trends that we're seeing statewide reverse at least a little bit, so that you guys can get some projects let, because it's a challenge for people all over the state. So, any questions about any of these? Obviously, we don't have an NDOT rep that was able to make it today, but if we do have questions, I can talk to them and see about that.
I think on the first one, State Road 25 over US 421, they'll be detouring the ramps over, I think it's Division Road and Carroll at 800.
All right, any other questions about any of these projects? All right, well, that was the last official agenda item that we had, but if you guys
have an unofficial?
Well, if you guys have any unofficial ones that we didn't know about beforehand that you would like to bring up, now's the time.
I don't at this time. I know I have 2 bridges that are under design, but I was hoping they'd go this year, but it looks like permits aren't going to be obtained from environmental soon enough, so it'll go next spring probably. And those are just deck overlays.
Yeah, that's another thing we've kind of seen a lot in Tippecanoe County, as well as, again, talking to people around the state, that the permitting process is also having a lot of issues as well. So we're seeing a lot of delays in addition to the cost increases. So, 2 things we don't like to see, but we are seeing. So I can relate.
All right, why don't you go on, Tim, with whatever you have.
Yep. Well, then the last thing we had is just to mention that we have 2 more meetings in 2022. Our next meeting will be August 9th. And that's the one where we're going to talk about some of the traffic count program results, as well as hopefully have some good updates for the rural long range plan. And then November 8th will be the last meeting of the year. So we got 2 more quarterly meetings on the schedule for this year. So we will, as usual, be reaching out with a packet and Outlook calendar invite and all that stuff that we sent out.
And then we'll have the July looking at the long range plan.
Right, and that will be a separate subgroup. So, yeah, look out for an email about that.
You had something unofficial?
Nope.
All right, with that, any other questions, comments? Move for adjournment. Toby wants to go out.
Yeah, outside.
Outside, play outside.
Well, I moved, we adjourned.
We have a motion. And a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
See you in July, August.
Yep.
Indeed.
All right.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Uh-huh.
Sure, it's much colder in here than it is outside.
I don't think it is.